Hello, Aries. Welcome to your August soul session. I am Princess India. If you're new and if you're family, welcome back, my friend, and what's on whatever. So we are going to be okay. That's one card. We're going to be looking at an overall energy as well as a challenge, and then we're getting into a more specific spread. We're going to be looking at what is going on with you all for the month of August. I hope you have been well, Aries, and what's not on whatever. So your overall energy for the month is the Four of Swords in the reverse. This is challenged by, oh my, the Nine of Swords. So once it is looking like Aries in the month of August, I feel you guys are going to be quite anxious. It feels to me with this Four of Swords in the reverse, there's a need to kind of take a step back and relax. It could be that you guys are kind of on overdrive. It could be that you guys have a lot of people tugging on you. There's a lot of expectations. There's a lot of things that you need to fulfill. I say with it being August for some of you guys, kids are going back to school. So it could be, work responsibilities, parental responsibilities, getting stuff, together for kids for school and things of the sort. But I feel an energy of you guys being very overwhelmed. There is the potential here, forewarn you guys about that. There is the potential here for burnout, right? To where you guys can kind of stretch yourself so thin that you end up just kind of like tapping out, you know what I mean? But another thing with this Nine of Swords here being your challenge, it's really a need to kind of overcome this and come out of this. Now, I know that's easier said than done, but my best advice with this is objectivity, because this looks like a ton of anxiety for me. Simply put, anxiety is fears of the future. It's a lot of what if, right? A lot of projecting worst case scenario into a future time. The only thing you can do in your present to overcome anxiety, if we're not talking about full-blown clinical anxiety, in the case of that, you need to go see a friendly local neighborhood therapist, a friendly local neighborhood psychiatrist, you know what I'm saying? But anywho, but if it's not to like that level, the only thing you can do is literally what you can do. So there's a need to take a step back, to look at everything that's happening and create a to-do list based on priority. Like, what is imperative that you can do now, and what is within your power and within your control that you can handle and take care of right now, right? Because with the Nine of Swords, I always look at that as an energy of like ghosts of the future. It's a ton of what ifs, and in the present that feels like this whole, insurmountable Mount Everest of things that you're never going to be able to take care of. And because you have to take care of all of these things, it's like now a house of cards. Like one thing goes wrong, everything is going to fall. But that's not the case. That's just kind of how it feels, because that's how your mind is telling it to you. So the biggest challenge to overcome with this Nine of Swords is you kind of deconstructing this big monster that's been created in your head, and really grounding yourself and looking at like, what is really within my control? What is it that I can really change? And not allowing yourself to kind of ruminate or spiral out thinking about things that you really don't have control over anyway. I hope and pray that that is making sense. Now, looking at your more specific spread, your central energy representing you all, my goodness, for the month of August, we have the Five of Cuppies in the reverse, your past influence. We have the Three of Cuppies in the reverse. Your hidden influence is the Seven of Pentacles in the reverse. That makes sense. Your potential outcome, this card has been stalking everybody. We have the Strength in the reverse. That is Leo energy. And what to look out for moving forward, we have the Fool, which is Aries energy. It's you guys. So I mean, that's looking up. So here's the thing, Aries. I don't want to say but I think it would make sense if I say it. I don't want to say like, oh my gosh, Aries, you're under spiritual attack. I don't want to say that, but I feel using that kind of makes sense, because that's to me what it looks like to me energetically is that, but not saying that you're literally being spiritually attacked. But I'm saying how the rhythm of these energy patterns look. I could see how a person could feel like you're being attacked. Like everywhere you turn, it's like it's something. You know what I mean? this stuff is brain fodder, right? A lot of this is existing inside your own head. It's a lot how you're perceiving the situation, and it's not by any means to demean what you're going through or saying that what you're dealing with isn't difficult, challenging, scary, or hard. It's just the fact that it's being puffed up to a lot more than it really is. And the power of the human mind is that thinking about things like this, it can dead ass feel like reality. But once you start to fact check it, you know what I'm saying? That's how that giant monster starts to kind of decrease in size. But anywho, looking at this Four of Cups in the reverse, and we're looking at the latter part of July coming into August, there's actually been a shift or a sense of clarity that has come to you guys. However, looking at this Five of Cups in the reverse representing you all, I don't necessarily feel that you guys see this option. So in a sense, where Aries is right now, you feel like you're trapped in a situation and there's literally no way out of it. Like there's no solution and you're stuck, right? I feel in the latter part of July, there is a solution that's on offer. But again, like your overall energy, there's Four of Swords in the reverse and there's Nine of Swords here. I feel you're so much in your head and you're so focused on what you're afraid of and what's wrong and what's not going right that you're not necessarily seeing the opportunity that's on offer for you. You know what I mean? I don't want to go as far because I heard it, but and I mean, I'm not supposed to be putting my own feelings in it. Like I heard it's like it's whatever situation you're in, it's like you're taking something for granted. And that's personal preference where I don't necessarily want to say that. I don't agree with my guides on that one, but it's taking something for granted. But for me, from my perspective, I understand that, you know what I'm saying? Because this anxiety that I'm picking up on, it feels so heavy and so big. So I can totally get how there could be a way out, but a person not necessarily seeing it because of being so overwhelmed, right? But the thing that I'm concerned with this Five of Cups in the reverse is the fact that it's like it's a self-imposed prison at this point. I'll say it like that. It's a self-imposed prison at this point because you're telling yourself that there are no options and there are. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like being in a double-minded type of thing to where you're like, no one understands me and I'm not going to bother even explaining it to you because you're not going to understand. You feel what I'm saying? It's like you created the problem, but you're also creating the non-solution to the problem, which keeps you in the double bind of not being understood. You know what I'm saying? Because that's a judgment one is making. It's saying no one else is going to understand me, so I'm just not going to bother because you're not going to understand. But it's like if you never attempt to try to get someone to understand, then how would you know? And it's like, oh well, every single person I've ever tried to get to understand me never understands me. And it's like, okay, that's true. However, this is a whole different person, whole nother group of people. And is it really fair to base, your experiences on those past people on this person or these people in front of you? You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of like a self-sabotage, double bind type of thing. You know what I'm saying? And that's where this Five of Cups in the reverse energy is a little alarming because I feel there is an option in order for Aries to step out of this and to gain some objectivity, like to separate yourself from this, But I feel with being in this emotional state, it's kind of, you know, um, perceiving everything as half full, right? Which is why, like I say, with the Four of Cups in the reverse, there is a way out of this, but it's like, turning a blind eye to it. I'm not seeing it because everything is a disaster. Everything's falling apart. It's not going to get better. No one's going to help me. I don't have any money. There's no way that this is going to, be any different, right? But that's not the truth. That's just what it is that you're telling yourself, right? And even more so with this hidden influence being the Seven Pentacles in the reverse, there's a resistance. Well, damn. That's a whole nother it's a whole nother ordeal, Aries. I'm responding like that for what my guides just said. I'm like, damn, that's a whole nother thing. Kind of reminds me of what, so if you have Capricorn in your chart, definitely check out Capricorn. This reminds me of what came up with Capricorn, their hidden influence. So here's the thing. Um Aries, there's a resistance here within Aries to really look at this situation for what it is. Like, I'm trying to think how I can say this. It's kind of like there's a solution to, okay, let's say, all right, I'll put it in scenario form. So I don't know, when you were 20, there was something that you did that was so embarrassing, that was so life altering for you that you don't ever think about it, you don't ever acknowledge it. And up until this point, you have just approached life pretending as if this never happened. You tell your life story, you just completely don't acknowledge that part. You've done it so much that it's like, I totally forget this is a thing, right? However, when this particular event happened, it shifted something in you, right? And this shift is the root of what our problem is here. So let's just say, for the sake of making this make a little bit more sense, let's say prior, and this is going to sound kind of kooky, but say prior to this particular event happening, you were never ever an anxious person. You were never pessimistic. You were never a disaster thinker. None of these things, right? You never had any of those issues. But around the same time that this horrible, embarrassing event happened, right? You also developed anxiety and, projecting worst case scenario into the future, right? Now you fast forward until now. And with this 7 of Pentacles in the reverse, it's like an awareness of this, right? It's an awareness of knowing this anxiety started at the same time as this horrible, embarrassing thing that shall never be spoken of nor acknowledged, right? But knowing that they started at the same time, the reason why Aries has never gotten to the root of why they have anxiety is because they know it would require them to look back at this, event that transpired that shall remain nameless, right? So it's having the solution. So you have enough awareness to know this anxiety is linked to this, horrible, traumatizing, embarrassing event. But in order for me to cope with my anxiety, I also have to simultaneously look at this embarrassing event that shall remain nameless, right? And the knowledge of that is what causes the resistance to it. So it's kind of like, I don't want to have anxiety anymore, but I'm trying to find ways to deal with it from the left side to the right side, from behind. I go above, I go under, right? I'm going every other direction except for through, right? Because I don't want to acknowledge this thing that's tied to it. You feel what I'm saying? And I feel the place where Aries is coming to now in August, it's like spirit is more or less showing you, like, hey, so you've tried to go left, right, up, down, sideways, right? None of that has worked. The anxiety, and I'm saying this, like proverbially speaking, I'm not saying that's literally what it is, but it's like clearly the only way that you're going to be able to deal with this is if you really go back and look at that situation and really sort through it and face like this embarrassing thing that you don't want to look at, right? That's the only way that you're going to gain power over this situation to get you out of this anxiety. You feel what I'm saying? That's the vibe that I'm feeling with the 7 of Pentacles in the reverse. So there's a part of you that has some sort of awareness, not saying that you have it all figured out or you got, the key to unlock the door, but you at least know where the door is, proverbially speaking, right? But there's a resistance that you have to confronting this particular thing for whatever reason. And I feel that what led us up until this point is that there were attempts, and this is something I talked about a lot in July, where I kept bringing up the piece that I wrote about the best way out is through, that's on the community tab. It's like that's the only way out of things, right? We try, and that's like what the Seven of Swords energy is about. It's like we're always trying to sidestep stuff because we don't necessarily want to go through things, because that's grueling, that's painful. You know what I'm saying? Like it's long drawn out bullshit. You got to cry, process things, like all the things. And the desire is like, that's old, I'm over it, like I want to just move forward, you know what I'm saying? But it's loose ends that need to be tied up. So I feel that there is a part of Aries that has a level of awareness about this, but it's a resistance of not wanting to confront this particular thing. But I feel where it is that you guys are in the month of August is kind of like spirit saying, hey, we kind of got to deal with this, you know what I'm saying? Like, we know the things there, we know this is where it's coming from, like we need to confront this once and for all. Because I feel if this isn't acknowledged, I feel this energy you guys have been in, which is very much like an overcompensating kind of energy, it's very much an avoidance kind of energy. It's trying to sidestep what the main issue is, right? And that's only going to continue to exacerbate the problem. You feel what I'm saying? So I even say, like, with the advice I was giving you guys and the overall energy of taking this objectivity, making this priority list, looking at the things that you have control over and the things that you don't, that could very much work this month. I don't doubt that for a second. These are things I tell my clients. However, if you're not dealing with the root of the issue, then this same thing you're dealing with this month is just going to pop up somewhere else. You feel what I'm saying? Because we're not following a strategic order for things. Like I always say with the Seven of Swords, this isn't the Seven of Swords, the Seven of Pentacles, but what I always say with the Seven of Swords is what you skip will trip you up later. So you can get away with it now, right? But the things that you leave behind are building up interest and they're going to come home to roost in the future. And now you're going to be repeating the past in the future. So this isn't about you guys having it all figured out and getting delivered this month. It's all about just acknowledging it of like, okay, it's time for me to deal with this. Like, I know this is a thing, and like taking the first couple of steps, because the potential outcome for you guys being the Strength and the reverse, I feel that's really what this is, like the manifestation, the external manifestation of the root issue is like you guys kind of operating at half light in a sense, where you're not showing up as your full self, right? It's like wearing a mask or showing up at, half showing up as half light or fragmented in a sense. Or how it would look in action is like overcompensating, being overly nice, being overly giving, being overly charismatic. And the reason for that is because you're trying to cover up this particular thing, right? Or not wanting people to see this particular thing. Is very much like a shame kind of thing to me that I'm feeling with this. And of course, we know like shame is the polar opposite of vulnerability. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I say mask. So I don't mean that like in a negative connotation or anything, but it's like, a persona or, a 10-foot pole that you have between you and other people because you don't want people to get too close, because whatever this little shame is of this past thing, that's still something that you're carrying with you. So you're not really dealing with it. So you're overcompensating in other ways. And that's what kind of leads you to this burnout energy I was speaking about with this Four of Swords in the reverse, because it's like a disconnect with yourself. And there is very much a way out of this. There's a solution to this, but I don't feel you're allowing yourself to see. It's almost like suffering in silence, Aries. Like that's kind of the vibe that I get. It's like suffering in silence, but suffering in silence unnecessarily, because the perception is this is a burden I have to bear on my own. So this is kind of pulling all of my scenarios and hypotheticals together. Like I was saying with the, no one understands me, so I'm not going to waste my time and explain it to you because you're not going to understand. It's like keeping yourself in this vicious cycle that's eating away more and more of you as time progresses on, because you have this thought of, I won't be understood, so I won't make them understand. But that's what's keeping you as a prisoner. And there's very much a way out of this. Like, this does not have to be the way that you're approaching life. So, where this exhaustion I feel is coming from, because literally what I'm seeing in my mind's eye is like a person who's like spinning plates. You know what I'm saying? It's like spinning plates with their hands. They got the little stick in the little plates, and they're spinning plates on their head and like on their, and it's like all of this going on. It's like this whole song, all this extra stuff. All of this has to happen because they're trying to divert attention away from this thing. And mind you, this isn't subconscious. So this isn't something that I feel Aries is aware every day that you're consciously doing. You feel what I'm saying? But it's like, in order to keep this at bay, it has to be all the smoke and mirror, song and dance, all of this stuff, going on here to divert the attention away from this. But it's like, and that's what leads to burnout. Like, you could cut out all of that and not have to do all of the extra if you just dealt with whatever this is. You feel what I'm saying? And this is a really weird example I'm hearing now too. Like, the energy signature of this is like people who get into white collar crime, right? So if someone starts like a Ponzi scheme, like, some type of like investment firm or something like that, and they're telling people like, if you invest your retirement, like I can quadruple it and you'll be like a millionaire, right? And these people trust the person and they give them like their whole retirements, but the person who's taking the money like starts living off of it and living this lavish lifestyle. And as time goes on, they're like robbing Peter to pay Paul. You know what I'm saying? It's like that kind of vibe on a smaller scale. It's like, being in credit card debt and going to apply for another credit card and like using that credit card to pay off the balance on this card, and now using this card to pay off the balance on that card. You feel what I'm saying? It's like this consistent cycle, but it's never really dealing with this particular issue until it all blows up. You know what I'm saying? Like the little, person with the Ponzi scheme. You feel what I'm saying? It's like eventually you're going to have to pay the piper, because that's just the way that life works out. You know what I'm saying? We can get away with stuff for so long, but eventually the thing that we're trying to dodge, it comes home to roost. And I feel what this reading is saying, which leads me into to look out for with this Fool card. Aries has an opportunity that's coming up, and this is coming into the latter part of August going into September, where you guys are being offered a clean slate. So this is pretty much saying, hey, Aries, handle your house cleaning, clean up this baggage so you can make the most of this opportunity that's coming to you in the very near future, because this isn't stuff you want to carry on into this new cycle when you're being offered a clean slate. You know what I'm saying? But like I always encourage you guys with, whenever we're talking about stuff like this that we're dealing with, this is not at all saying that you have to have this all fixed and figured out before the last day of August. It's not that at all. This is just about bringing it into your awareness and you acknowledging it and you taking the first step in the direction of dealing with this, of saying like, okay, yeah, the situation that shall remain nameless is very shameful to me. And yes, the reason why I don't let people too close to me is because I'm afraid they'll find out about this particular thing, right? And I don't want to be rejected. And that is the reason why I keep people at a distance. I accept this about myself. You feel what I'm saying? It's just something as simple as that. But I feel with all of this, the challenge is going to be getting out of your own way. Like, the challenge is literally like, almost like, if I can say it this way, Aries, it's almost you guys acknowledging that you're your own bully. You feel what I'm saying? Like, the issue isn't necessarily people outside of you or people. And that's like why I said I didn't want to say spiritual attack. You know what I'm saying? Just to be goofy, I might literally, no, I'm not going to name the reading spiritual attack. I mean, it would be funny if I did. But that's the reason why I said I didn't want to say spiritual attack, because it's not really about anything outside of you. It's not the circumstances in your life happening to you. It's like they're very much happening for you. But how they're being approached is what's kind of, you making yourself a prisoner in your own mind or in your own body, in a sense. And the whole purpose of this reading is to acknowledge that, so you guys are able to be set free, so that you can fully embrace this new beginning that's coming for you guys pretty soon. And that's been your reading, Aries. I'm going to throw the dice of resonance for you guys. If you've been watching the soul sessions up to this point, then you've probably seen these. I used to do these at the end of my readings. I stopped like in 2019. And I made some new ones. So you can ask a yes or no question. And the purpose of them is like, dice of resonance. See if you resonate with something, you know what I'm saying? So I have zodiac signs and like chart placements. So this can kind of like show you the person that may be relevant to your question, or whatever it is that you want to know, or if you want to align it with the reading or not, whatever, you know what I'm saying? It's all you. So go ahead and ask a question. A yes or no question. Good Lord. I hope that's not as loud for you guys as it is for me, but it probably is because the mic is right here. But anyway, we have friend Aquarius, female, rising, and Aries. Interesting. So this could be Aries, meaning you, or this could be a person who's an Aries rising, a person who's an Aquarius rising, who is a friend and a female. And the answer to your question is yes. Yes is the answer to your question. The last couple of signs, you guys have been getting a lot of yeses. All the signs before y'all ain't really have it that good. But anywho, so that's your dice of a resonance, my wonderful Aries. That has been your soul session. Most certainly let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you dig the dice of resonance. If you do, put a die in the chat or in the comments and what's not, or whatever. Please donate to my GoFundMe so I can get a new laptop. No, it didn't go out for you guys. It went out for Capricorn. So you guys were lucky. And I probably should stop talking so it doesn't happen, because every time I say that, it ends up going out. But anyway, I love your freaking face, Aries. And I will see you guys sooner than later, my friend.